Good morning. Welcome to the future of hospitality. We have been hearing a lot yesterday about conglomerates and mergers and the big ones going sideways or up and Little Italy getting eaten up by big France and all sorts of conversation along those lines. And what's interesting, and I'm not quite sure whether it happened a little bit by intuition or accident, but the three people here on stage who are absolute leaders and innovators in the world of luxury hospitality all have small family independent businesses. Marie-Louise has an investor partner, and Ori has an investor partner. Alejandro is the VP and co-founder with your father of SHA Wellness, the integrated wellness clinic in Spain, which recently also opened in Mexico, near Cancun. Ori Kafri is the CEO and co-owner of JK Place Hotels, which has properties in Capri, Rome, and Paris, and soon to open in Milan. And Marie-Louise Scho is the CEO and creative director of Pelicano Hotels, which has the beautiful Pelicano, legendary storied Pelicano in Porto Ercole in Tuscany, and the Mezzatorre on the island of Ischia, and Posta Vecchia just outside of Rome. That's not a lot of properties for each one of these people. They are small, they are really considered, and yet everyone in the industry looks to these people, which I thought was particularly telling. And we've had conversations along these lines yesterday. So can you talk to me, please, and I think I'll start with you, Marie-Louise, about the importance of family, because you literally grew up at the Pelicano.
Absolutely.
So can you talk to me a little bit about how family finds its way into your brand, and then I'll take it to you both, and also then how you actually leverage that, not just in building guest relations, but in building and disseminating your brand around the world.
I always say I'm part of the furniture there, because I am. I'm always at the hotels, and I did grow up there, and I grew up both at Pelicano and Posta Vecchia, and I think that makes a big difference in the hotel experience for guests and also for us operators who do have family-run or family hotels. It's very formative. So
And your father bought the hotel from the Grahams, the Americans who opened it in the '60s, and was himself kind of part of the furniture, right? Was like a friend of them.
He was absolutely part of the furniture.
There was a whole movida at that hotel, which you grew up watching. Did that translate fairly intuitively for you when you...
Absolutely.
Okay.
So he was, my mom's American and she only speaks English, and he started bringing her to the Pelicano in the late 60s. And then the owners wanted to sell, and my father loved it so much, and he wanted to protect it from, someone coming in and changing it. And so, we grew up there, and we saw kind of this gilded world. It was like growing up in a film, and children under 8 years old are not allowed. And so I was, hiding behind the bushes to look at this fabulous, very elegant world of, men were wearing seersucker suits, and women were at these long, beautiful gowns, and there was gala nights on Friday. And it really was being a spectator of something magical. And so I think that definitely informed how I try to do hotels.
But did you want to be a hotelier?
Absolutely not.
Okay, so how did this happen? How did you come to be the chief, what do we call you, the chef of magic?
Chef
at
of
the
magic,
Pelicano Hotels. How did that happen if you didn't want to be a hotelier?
A bit by chance. I actually had no idea what the whole hotel business was. For me, it was just a home,
right?
A public home, a home other people would come to. And I studied architecture, actually, at RISD. And when I came back to Italy, I think my father wanted to see a return on his investment. And he said, will you design a bathroom? And I said, okay, I'll design a bathroom. And I said, listen, I think you need to redo the Pelicano and cater to a bit of a younger crowd. And he said, do it. And I thought, he must be nuts. I can't do this. And then I thought, you know what? I grew up here. I have studied architecture.
Who knows it better than you? Also.
I know the DNA of this place.
Yeah.
I know what's in those walls. And I'll probably mess it up. But as Francesca was saying yesterday, you do have to have courage.
I think it's safe to say you didn't mess it up. It's all going pretty well.
And I was like, I'll go for it. And I redid it. And for a whole series of reasons, it kind of, did start of catering to a younger crowd. I think one important project there was a book we did in doing the research of how the interiors were back in the day, I called Slim Aarons,
Right.
because he was there when I was a kid. And I said, Slim, can I see some pictures? Because I want to, get all those references. And he said, I sold all my archive to Getty Images. So I went to London and I found boxes and boxes of these amazing pictures. So I said, we have to make a book, because we also had black and white pictures of John Swope. So at the time, it was very hard to find a third photographer, because I wanted it to not feel nostalgic.
Yeah.
The Pelicano was great back until the 80s, basically.
So you brought Jürgen in.
And so Jürgen Teller, who's a fantastic photographer and photographs things as they are. And so we did the third chapter of the book together. And I think that was one of the various projects we did that together with the interior design. And then I got into the graphics and everything. I started getting obsessive about all the touch points, basically.
But always packaging back up that idea of this home that was family, that welcomed.
I can't get away from that.
Yeah.
So, the approach is always going to be that in all the hotels, and even in Ischia was the same. It's the approach is kind of, it's all in the walls.
Yeah.
We don't need anything else. You need to just read and pick up what's there. And this is the thing I see with a lot of hotel renovations, right? There's a lot of, it's really hard to find the balance between great design, but also not putting too much of your own ego. And then flattening everything. So this is something that we see a lot today in hotels, which personally gives me an itch, is this flattening. And you could be anywhere. And so I think
Let me just take an opportunity to segue to you, Alejandro, who also, your hospitality product, what you're doing and futurizing, is a very different proposition to what these two do. You run one of the preeminent integrated wellness clinics in the world. So fundamentally, it exists for people to become well or get better, extend their longevity, find out what's wrong with them, optimize their health. But these are also people, your client is naturally somebody who goes all over the world, who's experiencing some of the best hotels in the world. Their demands are increasingly sophisticated. They come from a place of knowing a lot about what good hospitality is. How are you keeping things from being flat when fundamentally what you are there for is to help them with their health? So ideally you have a lot of operational exigencies, mattress qualities, and delivering certain health optimization things. How does that work for you?
Well, I think that the audience that we are serving, it's every time more demanding about what they expect on behalf of their leisure time. So they're expecting not only nice memories, but also transformation at some point of their lives, an inflection point that allows them to evolve as human being. Can be in a cultural aspect, or it can be, in this case, in terms of health and well-being. When we started with SHA, we started creating the concept 20 years ago. We've been in business for 16 years. And the goal was to create the most integrative, transformative method to transform people's health and well-being on a simple, hyper-personalized, and at the same time, pleasant experience. And that point is very important, because at the end of the day, we are serving individuals that in most of cases, it's not people who are ill, it's people who are well and wants to be better.
And just want to be well for as long as possible.
Wellness has gone through a tremendous transformation on the last 10 to 15 years. And the type of users is totally different. If you think who were going to a wellness place 15, 20 years ago, you were seeing mostly senior people in a more quiet part of their life. Now, the people we are serving is usually people that it's in the peak of their professional lives.
Well, and there's so much cross-pollination, right? Like, people are planning a holiday, they might as well go to SHA because they're interested in integrated wellness across their entire lives. So they're coming to you. The original SHA in Spain is in Alicante. You've just opened on the coast of Mexico, the Caribbean coast of Mexico. How is that? That's very architecturally interesting. How did the design of that reflect where you want to take your brand? I'm curious.
Well, I think SHA has been innovative on merging a results-driven, data-driven wellness approach with luxury hospitality, with design, because we don't want people to choose between going to a health retreat or going to a pleasure luxury holiday. We want to offer them both at the same time. And I think SHA Mexico is taking that to the next level. It's the first wellness clinic to open on a Caribbean beach, and definitely helps you to have both goals. In the case of design, SHA Mexico, it's been inspired on the human DNA, the human genome. So it's been a pretty complex architecture.
The literal shape of the building.
Yes, the shape of the building. So we have some points where we have nearly 80 meters high suspended, and you feel kind of you're in a cruise. The building is very thin, and every single room is facing the Caribbean Sea. There isn't any room facing on the jungle side.
Were you keen at all to incorporate Mexico into that design? I mean, sense of place. Sense of place is another big line. It is, in fact, the tagline of Rosewood Hotels and Resorts, but it's something that pervades everything hotel innovation is doing. Were you keen to incorporate some sense of being in that region of Mexico into the design?
Yes, we're keen. It's true that SHA is a destination on its own. You know,
right.
People who come, they come very committed to achieve their health goals, and they are not so much thinking about going out of the property.
Right.
They're very focused on taking advantage of being there, trying the treatments. But of course, we want them to feel that they're in Mexico. From the nutritional to the therapies to Mayan culture, we have incorporated in our offer.
Right, okay. And Ori Caffrey's JK Place Hotels, since their very beginning, have worked in tandem with a Florentine designer called Michele Bonan. Leonardo Ferragamo has also worked with him, but you and he really work very, very closely together. I remember hearing stories and stories when you opened your Paris hotel right before the pandemic in 2019 about you going to the Marché des Puces with him to do all of your shopping. So how does that work to be so closely identified? Why did you pick Michele? What does it do for your guests that you have this really kind of sui generis design style? Which is very homey, by the way, which is very sort of, he's a big residential designer, so why that mix?
Well, it's I've been really very grateful to meet Michele many, many years ago in Florence and to start with him this journey. I mean, the fact that he adopted me in a way in his office, and we started traveling together and visiting flea markets and auction houses and to buy antiques and vintage pieces, trying to create a JK Place like the place of Mr. JK. In different location and to identify...
Who is your father's initials, by the way,
Correct.
Jonathan Caffrey, so also family.
Also family,
How would you describe Michele's style, if you had to do it in like 5 words?
He's a gentleman of lifestyle. He really have a sense of style like few other people have. And is really able to each one of our locations to give a really very special sense of uniqueness. And being next to him and traveling and finding for each hotel the right material, the right furniture, the right colors. I remember once we did a mock-up room for the hotel in Rome, and everything was just perfect. Then we opened the windows, and the reflect of the sun from the building in front was reddish. So suddenly the room looked all red.
Everything got scrapped and had to change.
Exactly, we had to change everything.
Right, okay. So that must be fun for you from a budgetary standpoint as well.
Well, budget is not a subject.
Michele and budget don't go in the same...
We don't speak about
well, and that's part of the
budgets.
scale at which you work, right? These are things that you can iterate because you've not got 45 or 55 properties out there, which might be why you have such strong identities within your respective companies. I would like to talk about retail, which is something that obviously with luxury brands that are now launching hotel companies and hotel companies being acquired by luxury brands, there are endless collaborations that can happen there. Marie-Louise, you have a brand called Issimo that you launched. First of all, you've also curated some amazing boutiques within your hotels. But right in the middle of COVID, you had the extraordinary courage to proceed with launching a project that you'd been working on for a while, which was, what would you call it, like a celebration, a cataloging of Italian eccellenze that you wanted to show to the world, which happened to land at a very important moment for, Italy was the pest house of the world in that moment, so it was very good branding. The Ministry of Tourism should have you on payroll, by the way, for having done that.
The timing was
Can you explain the idea behind that and then how that has just kind of exploded as something that supports your brand development?
So we have shops in our hotels, and I always saw the shop in hotels until 10 years ago as something where you could get a baseball cap and an ashtray, and more or less that was it. Instead,
You do have ashtrays.
We have ashtrays,
Yeah.
and they're best sellers, I would add.
They're chic.
But we had the space, and I wanted to make, why not be able to buy great things and not just an ashtray and a cap. So we've had a shop in the hotel which has been really successful, and from there, we have been doing collaborations and various projects for many, many years. And
but you were always bringing people in, like you'd see this one down in Sicily or this one up in. And it was just, was it the gut thing? It was just intuitive to kind of...
then it was really, I wanted to create a platform that was a love letter for Italy, and that brought all of these things together. And we could talk about the excellences of Italy, which are so many. And I'm not biased at all, but I mean, food, design, architecture, fashion, you name it, right?
Yeah.
And so "issimo" is a suffix that we add to express our enthusiasm. Buonissimo, bellissimo, And so it felt like the right name to be able to put everything together, because it's a market where you can get really good tomato sauce and a great tailored blazer.
Right.
It is the kind of digital extension of our philosophy and taste. And it's also open all year round, because as of now, the hotels we have are seasonal.
Yeah. And a form of storytelling that stays with people.
Yeah, and it's really about uncovering Italy and going under the skin. And it's, our motto is quality and people, places, and things. So it's a site where you can discover, shop, and learn, and be enriched in some way.
Yeah. Alejandro, it's very much the remit of your brand. Nutrition is a really, really strong pillar of SHA, and you eat better at SHA than you do at some extremely fabulous 5-star hotels on this planet, I can say. And there's a really extensive retail program with which you can leave the resort, the clinic, all sorts of cookbooks, recipes, nutrition, beautifully packaged foods. That serves a very different purpose for you, but how do you leverage that to kind of create awareness? If somebody who wants to have some degree of a SHA experience, who may be an eventual client but isn't yet?
Well, I think our goal is to be an inflection point in people's life. We want people not only to come for an annual detox, but really to start a new health path. So first, giving them the knowledge is key. We have an educational program. We call it Healthy Living Academy, that we are very focused on giving them...
The Healthy Eating Academy, right?
Healthy Living Academy.
Living Academy, sorry, okay.
So we're very focused on giving them the tools, the knowledge, in order to continue with this healthy lifestyle.
Right.
But then, of course, the retail component, it's super important. We don't want them to come back home and start finding where to buy all the different stuff. So, as you say, from cookbook, nutritional supplementation, that is key, medicinal teas that we've created with one of the top tea sommeliers in the world, and also with our nutritional experts. To, of course, lifestyle component, very focused on active living.
Right.
So yes, it is a key component of our concept.
Is the Academy something that you ever see extending far beyond, like a platform that would be online, available that people could participate in, so that they are getting a taste of your brand without actually coming to one of the clinics, which, by the way, will soon include, in 2026, I believe, include Abu Dhabi, correct?
Yes.
With the whole component of residences.
Yeah, we just announced a couple of weeks ago, SHA Emirates, that it's probably the most ambitious project up to date on the wellness arena. It's the first healthy living island in the world. It's a 25-hectare island that is located in the coastline between Dubai and Abu Dhabi.
And what's the ratio of residences to, I mean, that's a big residency project, isn't it?
Yes.
Which brings us to another phenomenon of hotels these days.
In our case, it's about offering lifelong health and well-being. And I think that's the main challenge for wellness industry, how to keep connected with guests. People come, they achieve great results, but then how you can continue supporting them. So the free residence, it's for whoever has the possibility, it's a great way of taking care of your health and the health of your dear ones for the rest of your life, having at your doorstep an amazing offer in terms of technology, experts. What we've done in Emirates, we already have branded residence in Spain and Mexico.
Okay.
But what we have done in Emirates is a much more ambitious project when we have created different pavilions around the island, all focused in enhancing your health and well-being. So from sports to wellness kids club, to mind and body, healthy nutrition pavilion. So it's all totally focused, prioritizing your health and your well-being.
And these are properties the owners can put back into the pool, correct?
Say again?
They're properties that the owners can put back into the pool. If I own a
Yes.
residency, it can be rented if somebody's coming for a 3-week program.
Branded residence is booming in many parts around the world.
Yes.
Definitely advantages is the property management, having access to a level of amenities and services that it's rare to find on any luxury condominium. And then also the possibility of many of them to putting it back to the pool when you're not using it.
Right.
We have also created a system that you're able to exchange stays. If you're a residence owner, imagine in Mexico, you're able to exchange stays with SHA Spain.
Oh, so there's a nice okay.
Yeah,
Very
or the
cool.
properties to come in the future. But going back to how to keep supporting guests and this generation of content, we have created an app where, at the end of the day, it's a very thin line of keeping this personal attention to guests that you expect on a luxury brand.
Which
but
is
on the
something
other
I'd
side,
like to touch on.
giving the possibility to simplify as much as possible in terms of planning your stay, sharing
Because
information.
wellness is that relationship now, isn't it? It's to a degree, my boss, Joe, has a great, you game your wellness. Everybody's sort of looking at where you are. And to have, how do you personalize something like an app? You have such a deeply personal, having been to SHA and done a fairly extensive program some years ago, it's a deeply personalized experience, not just in the sense that everybody knows you, but they know everything about your health, and the sense of that being supported is very strong. To then extrapolate that to this kind of relationship, I mean, that's got to be incredibly difficult. And yet everybody in this room knows that every business is trying to do that. So
we have invested a lot in technology. There is one part that is technology. Imagine our average stay at SHA, it's around 10 days. You may be meeting probably 40 different professionals of our team, and to make sure, not even that we don't give you contradictory information, to make sure that we don't ask you the same question twice.
Right.
It is a challenge to make sure that everyone is working in the same direction. So we start personalizing your health journey even before arriving.
Yeah.
We send you through the app a health questionnaire that you need to fill, and we start personalizing. On the first day, you have a diagnosis circuit with very innovative technology that it's allows us to give us a very clear vision on your health and the opportunities of improvement. And you have the different consultations, anti-aging, nutritional, physical evaluation. So we personalize your stay, your diet.
Right.
When you arrive to a restaurant, we don't ask you what is your name or what is your room number.
Of course,
We should know, of course, why are you here and what is the best diet for you.
do you see that app being something that's going to be successful going forward? When did you launch the app?
We launched the app over 10 years ago, but we've been constantly updating it.
Right.
And now we are focusing more on how we can continue supporting you through this app after your stay.
With a sense of that touch.
We're going to be connecting it with health wearable devices.
Right, okay.
So we can keep track on your health. And we
So
can
it will be
continue-
part of the game, as
yes,
it were.
we
all
can
of
continue
that.
giving you feedback and support from health experts.
Real time. Back to residences really quickly, Ori.
Yes.
JK is shortly, in 8 months, 1 year,
Yeah.
to launch its first collection of residences in Rome, 15 apartments.
Correct.
And that's a very, very different proposition, obviously, to what is happening with SHA. Have you just had people say, I want a house that looks exactly like this and is run exactly like this? How does that come about? Roccoforte has a not dissimilar product. I mean, obviously, several people have done this in the industry,
Sure.
but why you, why now? Why Rome?
We are already in Rome, and we wanted to elevate to look at what could be also somehow the future of hospitality. And we really thought that the idea to give more space, more privacy, more intimacy to the guests could be a way to evolve and to grow. This beautiful palazzo will be made, yes, of 15 big apartments.
How close is it to the hotel?
It's 2 blocks away.
Hop, skip, and a jump? Okay, good. So they can utilize
Yes,
everything in the
yes.
hotel, correct? That's part of the idea.
Yes, but the ground
Okay.
floor of these residences will be fully serviced just like an hotel. So
Right.
restaurant, bar, lounge, gym. And it will be a sort of a JK residence club in the idea that you can stay just for one night. You can really feel the exclusivity to be part of and these residents are not really for sale. I mean,
They're just for long stays. Because places like Rome have markets for that, right? You have people coming through who are making films, who are doing shows, creative projects. You want somebody who wants to come live there post everything that's happened in the world.
We have the tendency to say home away from home, and the JK could be your home, but this is really a home. This is a real apartment with a kitchen, with a living room. So I would imagine that maybe in the morning you would love to have a chef come into your room to prepare your own breakfast. You want to meet someone. You would like to open a bottle of wine in your room. You have to do meetings. You are traveling with the family. You want to do extended stay, but you still want the hotel service and capability to really deliver a 5-star proper.
And feel that experience pulled over.
Yes.
Very quickly, because I wanted to leave a little bit of time for questions. The ways in which you respectively create brand awareness well outside the walls of your hotels. Also within them, events that you do, but like I know, Ori, for instance, you are particularly known in the industry for doing these quite fun road shows. You take your game and your chefs and pizzaiolos from Napoli to Malibu to an estate there. You've got a regular crew that goes down to Australia because Australians just love them some JK Place and Capri. Marie-Louise, you're famous in your hotels for the parties that you throw and the groups of people. Years before I heard about other people doing this, you were inviting some of your friends from creative industries and just asking them to host a cocktail at the bar at the Pelicano, and other guests could come and have a nice casual drink and then a very casual conversation where these people talked about what they did for a living and would answer questions and meet people. How are you sort of extending your brand when you take SHA? How can you take SHA and recreate it outside of your 2, soon to be 3 properties so that people get a sense of what it is? And do you consider that an effective way to create brand awareness?
SHA, it's a complex brand to replicate, to escalate.
I can imagine.
It's much more complex than a traditional luxury hotel brand. At the moment, we are definitely doing pop-ups on different cities around the world. We may be doing at least 5, 6 pop-ups during the year.
So how do you create it? Do you bring your medical staff? Do you just have like flash treatments?
We take our chef. We take some of our experts, which has been, for example, in Lisbon last week. And we did cooperate with different private clubs, with different luxury hotels, where we take care of the restaurant or the wellness area for 4 or 5 days. And it's a way to get closer to our guests. Also, something that we do a lot is inside our SHA privilege, which is our membership, usually to the higher categories. When we travel, we offer them the opportunity to take our chef to their homes and organize something for their friends, which is something that they love, no? And it's always kind of a privilege as a guest that
wow them with your food.
The SHA chef comes to your home to cook for you and your friends.
With fermented veg and everything. It makes you better. Does that convert into new clients?
For sure.
Are you finding?
For sure. At the end of the day, when you think about what is more effective in terms of brand visibility, I think always word of mouth is the number one, and especially when you're transforming people's life and it's a physical change and people ask you how you look so good, to be able to share your experience.
Yes, and this brings us to something interesting, which is word of mouth, a few trusted sources. There's so much, we could go on and on about influencers and social media and how that works for all your respective brands and who reads what and who listens to whom. But it does do you find that it comes down to a few trusted sources and you are getting a lot of word of mouth, and that's how the communities that you all have within your businesses and your brands and your hotels get created? You do a lot of that kind of, you've had boats rock up, stocked by matches that you can, the most amazing pop-up you can imagine. You've had these mini maxi parties. Is that something that, again, is like, we talked a lot about, Francesca Pellettini said yesterday something interesting about if you're sort of 70% there, just go with your gut. Like, don't worry that you need to have 100%. Is that something that you've just always said, that's a good idea, and then you just execute on it?
Yeah.
And do you think that will continue to be the case now that you have a investment partner who hopes to send you on a shopping spree?
Absolutely. I think the gut is never wrong.
Really?
Yeah, I think
the gut
agree
that gut
it's very
wrong?
Underestimated.
Specialist in gut health who thinks maybe the gut
it's
is
a
Gut is
healthy
key
gut,
for sure.
No, but I think one does have to listen to their instinct, and I think
and that is a natural instinct.
And that is
obviously.
natural. I think you have to listen to yourself, and all these fun collaborations and projects we've done, again, have just been, something I just wanted to instinctively do. And the parties
like you just did at Claridge's, you did Marie-Louise did a collaboration with Melissa Morris of Métier and launched the bags at Claridge's, bringing her bartender up to the bar at Claridge's, which is a really quite intuitive pairing, another great brand. But are those just things that come to you? And do they turn into new clients? Do they turn into new opportunities?
You know what? I think we all want to have fun and have joyful moments. And I think that's regardless of what industry we're in. And to me, the joy part and the fun part is really an important part of the hotel. And you can see that in the design as well. So the parties that I've been doing for 15 years, every year we do a party. It's really fun.
Yeah.
And now that we're older, I do them during the day, because it's too late at night. But, you know, and people love to mix and meet new people. And so it's a really important part.
Do you think they come to the properties for this? For the idea that there is a community within, that you have created not just beautiful spaces, incredible services, you know, but, and fabulousness at many levels, but the idea that you're going to meet like-minded people.
I think
which is increasingly people want to kind of have this. Joe said you don't want to look at 9,000 tile patterns that make you sick. You kind of want somebody you trust curating, for lack of a better, more authentic word, what you're doing.
I think it's really important. It's as important as the design. It's important as the service. I think who is in the hotel is another one of those elements that adds to the magic of it all. And so, you know, that's a tricky one to do, but I think it's another one of those things that you have to curate and take care of.
Right.
It's very important.
We have about 7-8 minutes. I thought there might be some questions from the audience. Does anybody have any questions? I can barely see out there. No? Can't see. Oh, sorry. Hi.
Hi. How do you make sure that your experience is divertentissimo? How do you mix the blend between what the guests are bringing on themselves and what you provide for them, what you infuse in order to make that the experience is more than just fun and divertentissimo?
Can you ask that again?
Yes, sorry, I didn't hear very well.
You know what I mean? How can you make sure, how do you go about in making sure that the experience the guests are having at your hotel, it's more than just fun, divertentissimo?
Allora, it's not a party place. Huh? We have a party once a year, so, but that one is fun. Right. I think, you know, what you do is really take care of every touch point, and that the joyfulness comes through it. So it's not about only fun, it's about good service, but it's also about a lightness of spirit, which I think is very important to have.
Do you three think that one of the reasons people do gravitate to you and continue and are repeat customers is what we started with, that family connection? I mean, part of what also is very powerful within your brands is that all three of you are on premises. All three of you are, it's very easy for me to walk into Rome and see you having a meeting, having a drink with somebody, interacting with guests. You and your father, your parents, are still years and years later interacting with guests. You are, obviously, you are in your hotel of your hotel, you're part of the furniture.
I think that at the end of the day, the key of luxury hospitality is genuine care. No?
Yeah.
It's basically love and care.
Seeing a face.
Authentic love and care. And it's not that you cannot do it in a big hospitality group, but in terms of on a family company, I think it's easier to transmit that corporate culture. My parents, I've been based in their property for 10 years, but my parents, they still based in their property. They spend part of the year in Spain, part of the year in Mexico. And when you are seeing that, when the team is seeing that, has a tremendous impact on them. And when you're able to move from a rational, transactional relation with your guests to an human, emotional connection, that you show that you really care for them. This is not just about offering you a nice stay, paying the bill and saying bye, but you want to build a relation with them. That has a tremendous impact. We have 55% of repeat guests, and most of them are coming on an annual basis.
Who would cite that as one of your kind of...
And when I meet them, I'm surprised about the number of people they know in our team. When I meet someone in London or Paris, New York, and they start mentioning me 10 different names of our staff, I'm really surprised.
Right. And that can, as you said, happen in hotels that are part of bigger groups and hotels that are larger than the hotels you run, which tend to actually, both of you have hotels fewer than 50 rooms, basically. They're quite small. Your sort of are more like 25, that level. Yeah. Do you find that people care still that this is something that you're there, you're Ore Cafri, you're part of the brand? Or do they not know? Do you find
yes,
that it's
but no.
changing?
I mean, I'm really lucky to have next to me amazing people, very passionate,
do have good
or really in love with hospitality, and they can really engage a relationship. So, service, as I read recently on a book, it's a black and white. You ask for a coffee, they give you a coffee. You have to make, you ask for a restaurant reservation, they make a restaurant reservation. But hospitality, it's a color, it's people, it's a connection, it's human, it's love, and I'm here with you. I cannot be right now in Capri, in Rome, or in Paris. So it means that right now, in each one of these hotels, there are people who really care and they're really passionate about it, and they can. And yes, and for example, for me, the most beautiful compliment I can receive is when I meet people and they ask me about the team members, and they individually know each one of them. And not how beautiful the hotel is, because how beautiful, okay.
There are a
you
lot
can
of
do
beautiful hotels. There has to
but
be
then
something.
they're beautiful boxes without a real soul, a real identity. And that's, I think, our job, to be able to put all the things in place and create some magic.
Right, okay. Per a request from somebody, what should every good hotel room have? What's the one thing? It's didactic, but it's necessary. Got to ask. Come on.
A really good
A
bed.
master switch was suggested by at least 10 people in this audience. Just don't hand me an iPad to turn my aircon and my lights on.
I agree with that.
Because it drives me up the wall. So what would you say? Let's start with you, actually. What do you?
In our case, I will say that systems to enhance your sleep, your well-being, your energy. We have incorporated in our properties the option of having systems that can help you to reduce your oxidative stress, to reduce your biological age. Now we just signed a collaboration with Siemens, and we're working on creating the healthiest rooms in the industry.
Right. But when you're on the road, Alejandro, what's the one thing you want?
When I'm in a hotel?
Yeah. Dark
Well,
for your
I would
sleep?
say good mattress, blackout, a nice tea,
Blackout
a nice
was
tea
another
bar.
one. Yeah, yeah. Okay,
would be-
you?
The air conditioning system is always a problem. It's either too hot, too cold. I still didn't figure out how to make
And
it
what's
work in
funny
my
about
hotel.
this industry is we speak in these ephemeral terms, and it's lofty and it's future forward, but these are the topics that people even at very keep coming back to. What do you think?
A
Speak
really
from your
good
gut.
bed.
A really good bed, which is what you were saying.
And a great bathtub.
And a really good bathtub. Okay. Nothing technological?
No.
How are we feeling about that? Incorporating tech into what you do? You have a degree of it because of the wellness component, but in the strictly hospitality terms, how do you? You seem like I personally, because I'm not the chef of magic, struggle to imagine where you would ideate technologically, like a guest interactive technology.
Very
with your
difficult.
brand.
I don't know. It's in another lifetime, maybe.
That's another, okay, a parallel Marie-Louise.
That's another job.
Okay, excellent. Ori, what do you look for?
Sorry?
What do you look for?
What I'm looking for.
When you travel. The number one thing you want.
Well, we all travel, we are the same person, but we have different hats, depending if you travel for business, for leisure, with the family, alone, where you're going in a city that you've already been many times.
Right.
So actually, I'm always looking for different things. There's no one specific. I get comfort almost anywhere, just depends if...
Do we all agree that stars don't really matter anymore? That stars, the 4-star, 3-star, 5-star, don't tell you as much as they used to in any case about what a hotel offers?
Can I go back to your first question? What
Yes,
do you
you
look
may.
for? A soul. That's what really matters. If a place has a soul,
Well,
if
which
it has
exists
identity,
outside of all the criteria, right?
yes, and they should do ratings on the soulfulness of a place and not the size of a shower, because no one really cares at the size of a shower.
Do you think that's true across all markets that are traveling?
I think that's the direction
As
hospitality
markets
is going.
change, as people are coming from all different, certain markets are traveling a lot more right now than they were last year, for instance. Others are not. There's a war on. So people don't uniformly care about the same thing, though, do they? I mean, you have to take in.
I mean, there's something for everyone,
But
right?
soul is key.
For me, it's key. And my favorite hotels have no stars and shared bathrooms.
Tons
but
of soul.
There's got character and soul, and they give me something.
Right.
And I think, we're in the business of giving emotions. That's what I think. And so that's regardless of how many stars you have.
Excellent. That is literally 0 seconds.
Oh.
Does anybody have one final question at all? I can't see.
really bright up here.
Okay, great. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.